There's certainly been one conversation that has dominated lunch parties, get-togethers, dinner parties over the course of the weekend. It's the age-old question, where were you during the storms? And what has been the fallout for you? Just been talking there to the team from S&P about the potential payouts for insurance companies, how much it's going to cost them, how much is it going to cost to rebuild as well, and so many individual stories, be it property or, of course, possessions that were lost as a result of the storm. So let's look at it from a property point of view. Let's bring an expert into the field here to give their thoughts on what is going to be an opportunity of reflection for many in light of last week's floods. Should buyers start looking at who the contractor is and not just the developer when choosing their next Dubai home? To answer these questions, a property expert with a wealth of experience, both over in the UK and more recently here in the UAE. Moved to Dubai just over, a decade ago now, runs their own boutique real estate firm, specialising in prime and super prime properties across some of Dubai's most coveted communities. It's a warm welcome to the founder and the CEO of Maria Morris Real Estate in Dubai. It is Maria Morris. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on board this morning. I mean, I don't know if I'm making too much of this morning, Maria, but I was thinking about it over the weekend just by the fact that so many people were talking about it. And I think it's a Tom Urquhart opinion that it's made a number of homeowners here, whether you own your property, whether you rent your property, have a little think about where they are living and where they next want to live in terms of the potential of knock-on effects as well. Is that putting too much on it or not?
No, obviously what happened last week was unprecedented, but it did give the opportunity, as you say, for reflection, I think, in the last week. And those criteria, as you say, that are important to people in terms of how they use their home, how they want to spend time in their home, whether that's an apartment, or a villa, and which part of the city they want to live in. So it's not just about the quality of the construction itself. I think it's also about the area and how the overall infrastructure has fared. But I think, as I say, it's a point of reflection, really, to say, right, do I want a well-designed quality villa or apartment? Is that important to me? How will I use this space? So I think that's really, as I say, the reset that people are now looking at how they live and what kind of space they want to live it in.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we all know that the storm was unprecedented, but it doesn't beg the issue that we've had more rain in recent times. People have had to deal with more leaks. They've had to deal with a few more infrastructure problems. They might have contacted their property managers or the developer and said, look, can we fix this? And it hasn't been fixed. Again, I suppose, and we don't want to start comparing developers and developments to other developments, but it's happening at the moment as well. And will people sort of fashion their choices moving forward on developers or developments that have fared well in the floods?
I think potentially, and as you say, over the last few days, I think there hasn't been I was at a lunch yesterday, and everyone was asking me about, what's happening with the property market, where should we buy, where should we move to? We're thinking of moving. Does that affect what's happened from last week? So it's always a dinner party topic, as you say, but I think with what's so interesting with what happened last week is it's not just new versus old. It's not just this developer is better than that developer. It's actually looking at those individual villas and apartments and the build quality and how that fared. So, because a lot of people assumed that the older villas might not have fared so well. And we've got some renovated villas in Al Barar, as an example, where our HQ are. And they were so robust and there was no leaks. So I think that, people automatically assume that the new builds would fare better, which some did, and the older properties would suffer. But that actually wasn't the case. It was more of an individual area issue.
I ain't an engineer, I ain't a chartered surveyor, but are people going to sort of tap into those qualities now? Will they look to the contractor? Will they look to the quality of the build before buying?
Yeah, I think actually, again, storms aside, I think that's a transition that we've been seeing over the last 3 to 5 years anyways. When we were looking at, for example, we led the residential consultancy on Atlantis the Royal at the time, started back in 2014. And we said this has to be best in class globally, not best in class for Dubai. You know, it's going to be an icon here, but how we design it needs to be in line with international design measures. And I think that's what's going to happen now. I think people are going to say, right, enough value engineering with these contractors. Who do we actually, as a developer, who do we want to use that we know is going to deliver, that is going to deliver quality, and that aligns with our brand? And I think that's the transition that we're going to continue to see going forward, not just who can do it the cheapest, who can, you know, say they'll do it the quickest. And I think that will then pass on to the end user, the consumer.
What about passing on to price? I mean, is this going to have an impact on price? We know that the market is flying at the moment, etc. Will it have an impact, negative or positive, on pricing moving forward?
Well, look, I think from a commercial standpoint, the developers, or even if it's a single developer doing one-off renovations, they're going to be looking at their margins and they're going to want to protect their margins. So that normally means that it's passed on to the buyer ultimately. But I think what's also been interesting over the last few years, especially with the wave of new, the population's increased, the new buyers that are coming into the region to call it home, is that they're looking for that quality and they'll pay the premium. You know, so I think that we're going to see this shift where people are going to be actually willing to pay a little bit more for a house that is well designed and the quality of materials are on par with a global level, not just a regional level.
We know that Super Prime and Prime is flying at the moment. We know a lot of that's being driven by international buyers as well. This was a story that went international as well. Any risk that international buyers will have their appetite dampened?
I don't think so. I think we've had, look, Dubai overall as a city, you know, if you had 10 boxes that it checks, you know, I think 9 of them would not be weather related. And obviously now it has been in the headlines. But I think what we're getting from our clients from overseas is just more questions on, they can't actually believe, you know, they're looking at things on social media and they're like, oh my God, the airport was this. But actually, when you say to them, but look how quickly the city has come together to recover. I mean, I don't think there's many global cities that would have reacted as quickly as Dubai and the wider UAE has, and the sense of community as well. I think that's another thing that people are looking for when they make the move over here, and the safety and all those other good things. So, yes, it is a question. Whether it's a concern, I wouldn't go that far, but people are certainly asking the question.
Last question. I've got 30 seconds left with you. Emaar, first and only developer to come out publicly and make a pledge to their residents. Can we expect others to follow or not?
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming days. I think as we've only got 30 seconds, is that a good enough answer? Let's wait and see. We'll wait and watch and see.
Should we watch this space?
Yeah, exactly. I'll come back next week and we can do it again.
No, Maria, bless you. Thanks so much indeed for your time this morning.
No, it's
Maria
been a
Morris,
pleasure. Great to see you guys.
Founder and CEO of Maria Morris Real Estate here in Dubai.